This policeman's coming. He's like, mate, you can't be doing that. He's like, I'm going to get a call saying there's a one-legged black guy doing handstands on this total. For what do you expect me to do? Some people are just putting out absolute shit. Some girls approached me at the bar. She's like, oh, what happened to your leg? Got bitten off by a shark when I was swimming in Australia. She's like, that's a lie. I was like, what? Why? And she's like, black people don't deep sea dive. I was like, yep.
She's got you. What's going on, people? Welcome to a brand new podcast, Jordan Jarrett-Bryan's The Coolest Disabled in the World. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's a little bit arrogant, a little bit forward. Deal with it. It's just the way it is, right? I am the self-proclaimed coolest disabled person on the planet. It's just the way it is. It's cool, right? This is a brand new podcast where we're going to get really interesting people coming on, having a really cool chat about some of the dope things that they have done or are doing. They just happen to have a disability. And I want to explore and find out about how much their disability has shaped their achievements, if it has at all. So first off, you know, we've got to do the whole subscribe, follow, share, WhatsApp groups, all that goodness. Please, please, please share it amongst all your people. I want everybody to join the community and grow and grow and grow as we build this podcast. Now, I've got some amazing guests lined up over the next weeks, months, and years even on this podcast. But I think on this episode, the first one to kick off this episode, I might have set the bar a bit too high, right? Because the whole point of this is to prove that I am the coolest disabled person in the world. But my first guest, he might be challenging that throne from the get-go, right? My first guest on the podcast is a man that I've known for many, many years. Fitness trainer, public speaker, wheelchair basketball superstar, adaptive athlete, brand ambassador for about 17 different phenomenal brands and organizations, and just a generally dope individual. My first guest on this brand new podcast is a fantastic Tyler Saunders. Tyler, my bro, what are you saying? Talk to me.
What an intro.
Yeah, man, we got energy. Come on, man.
Mate, all of that. Love it, man.
What are you saying?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm proud, pleased, all of those things to be here. I'm essentially here to challenge your title as the coolest disabled. Let's get down to it, man. Yeah, we've known each other a long time.
Yes, man.
I'm always I'm in awe of all the things you do in the space. Media, all of those things, like public awareness and all of that. So when you said you want to come on the pod, I was like, yes, let's get it done.
Listen, I want to give you your flowers, right? We're going to get into you. Today's about you, right? But before we get into all the great things that you're doing or have done, a question I'm going to be asking all of my guests on this podcast, right, to kick off every podcast is, what is your coolness number out of 10? So out of 10, I want you to tell me what your coolness number is out of 10, right?
Coolness number out of 10.
Out of 10.
I gotta say, man, a full 10.
A full 10?
Full 10.
You can't be, brother, you can't be a 10 because I'm a 10 and I'm the coolest. So that by default, they can't be another 10. Right?
It's a 12 then.
It's
overstep the mark. Let's not be held by limitations and boundaries here.
So basically, the podcast is done. There's no more podcast. If I'm not the coolest, I've got no podcast anymore.
One and done. Boom, bam, done.
Man said 12. All right, I tell you what we're going to do.
Now the thing is, like really, truly, by nature, like people always say as well, like I'm a super humble guy. Like I'll never like brag and big myself up, even though sometimes it is warranted. Like some of the things we do, like it is awesome. But yeah, by nature, I'm not like a big-headed person.
You're not.
I would say like I'm like an 8, and there's always room for improvement. That's my kind of way of seeing things. Is yes, you can be high achieving, you can do some awesome things, but there's always a little bit of room to improve. So like in honesty, that answer I'd say like I'm an 8. I'm an 8 out of 10. Looking back at what I've managed to do, thus far, it's been pretty awesome. There's this whole trend right now of like if I met my younger self, we went to a coffee shop, like I'd like to think that younger me would be pretty stoked and pretty proud of who I am now. But yes, there's still some improvements and some
I love
growth
that.
that needs to be
that.
done. So yeah, I'm an 8 out of 10.
Though I've known you for 10 years plus, right? I worked out we've never actually, I don't think, played on the same team as each other or against each other.
No.
We've never actually, because I was coming out of the sport as you was killing it in the sport. So I kind of missed each other. They didn't cross, man. And I'm upset about that. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But as I've known you, I don't just know you now as my brethren Tyler, who plays ball, right? I know you for the growth that I've seen in the last 10 years in particular has just been insane. So I want to talk about those things, right? Because the whole premise of this podcast is about being cool, right? And you define what you think cool is. But I think a big part of cool is growth, right? And it's learning and it's adding weapons to you as an individual. And one of the things that I think most people know you for now would be your fitness journey. Just talk to me a little bit about the journey, where you were, I don't know, the weight you was at to where you are now, but what's driven that lineage? What really is the message that's important to translate to other people?
Yes, it's been an interesting journey for me. Like I was born with the one leg. I was born with my disability, so I didn't do sports and fitness and gym growing up. Like I was very self-conscious as a disabled child, but that didn't really play into like kind of aesthetics and physical prowess until later on. And it was through basketball I got into fitness and training, and I wasn't necessarily overweight at any point. I wasn't in great shape, but I wasn't like clinically overweight or obese. And then obviously having a disability limiting my amount of like exercise and movement, that kind of played a part as well. But when I kind of really knuckled down and dialed into this whole fitness thing was when I was playing in Germany, semi-pro. When you get to that kind of level, you're pretty much training 2-3 hours every single day. You've got access to a gym. And in that time, I kind of saw a lot of improvements to my physical appearance. Is like the first thing. Fitness obviously got improved as well. But that's when I started to kind of take all of that a little bit more seriously, started to, look at what I was doing in the gym. The diet was the main thing that really made a lot of difference. I'm kind of just tweaking my old like uni habits, like the old eating habits from back then, to making certain tweaks to then eating a lot better, more wholesome, nutrient-dense foods. And then that being kind of combined, I saw an improvement in my physical appearance. I started to see my abs a little bit. I always say to people, like, I would start to see my abs a bit. I was like, oh, okay, this stuff actually works. Like,
I like this. I like this.
Yeah, I like this. I'm in. I'm brought in. And yeah, I think most people when they start a fitness journey or some like journey into physical activity, unless you've been doing sport from a young age and you kind of find your thing from early, most general public, like Gen Pop, they start their fitness journey in order to improve their appearance because it's linked with confidence. And my confidence was never really high as a disabled child, just again, not really fitting in, having a visible, mobility impairment, a limp, all these kind of things. Like you're always kind of aware of how you look. So then when my body started to change from training, it did give me a little bit of a confidence boost. And, back then it was more, bodybuilding style training, do chest and triceps on a Monday, back and biceps on a Tuesday, shoulders on a Wednesday. Like it was one of those like typical bro splits, as we call them. And then, started to see some things improve, got more into the fitness industry as part of that, seeing those benefits. But then, yeah, after a while, I started to move away from just that pure aesthetically driven kind of journey of, I want to look better. I want to have a six pack. I want to have a bigger chest. I want to have bigger, like after a while, that didn't really mean so much. And then it became more about being more functional, being more independent, moving better, like having a stronger core, all of these different things. And that's where like the more functional training started to come into it. And then started jumping into all these different events, like got more confidence in myself, like signed up for different things, which also kind of made me grow as an individual in terms of, confidence and self-esteem and all of that thing. And yeah, from then it's just now become being fit enough to do whatever I want when I want, or just being fit for life, essentially. So that's now pretty much why I train. The body transformation, that side of things comes as a byproduct of being consistent with doing something you enjoy. And like basketball, I'm not part of the GB setup anymore. There's no aspirations on that side, but I still love playing the sport. So I want to still be able to do that as long as possible. I want to be fit and healthy for my kids. They're now both 8. They are with their activities. One's doing football, one's doing gymnastics. Like I want to be able to be involved in their life pretty heavily. And I feel like if I didn't train, if I just kind of resided to the fact I've got a disability, I can't do X, Y, and Z, then that's going to limit my involvement in their life potentially, and also just lessen my quality of life. So the transformation's been, it was kind of physical at the beginning, but then it's turned into a little bit more like holistic and more psychological as well.
And I understand there'll be obvious logistical differences having one leg, going through the gym process to having 2 legs, right? But going from where you were to kind of your fitness level now, did your disability play a role negatively in that in any way, or is it all just completely mindset? It doesn't matter if you've got 1 leg, no legs, 2 legs. If your mindset is right, you can get fit. Or did actually, are there, no, I had 1 leg. It was harder for me than it was for my man next door.
I'd say a lot of it was psychological. There's obviously some things we can't do, like obviously both being like limb loss, limb difference. There's some things you physically can't do, like running, for example. It's like something that for some amputees, also depending on the level of loss of the limb, like yes, you can run, yes, you can, jog. There are ways around things, but a lot of it was purely that thought process of, I can't do that. That's not for me. I'm not fit enough. I'm not capable enough. I've got 1 leg. I can't do that. That was pretty much my narrative for most of my childhood years, teen years, even into like my early 20s as well. It was only when I found basketball that, things took a turn for the better. But in joining the kind of fitness industry, getting involved in, personal training and everything that's come off the back of that, I still had limiting beliefs, thinking I'm not going to do well in an industry that's based on aesthetics and vanity-driven metrics and, how much weight you can lift. I honestly thought, how am I going to thrive in this kind of environment, being a guy with a disability? Like, what are clients going to want to learn from the disabled guy, the one-legged guy? Like, how am I going to actually progress in this? And it ended up being, that was so far removed from the truth. Like, people would see the fact that this guy with 1 leg is looking after his health, his fitness, he's training multiple times a week, he's looking after his food, his diet, his overall well-being with his obvious limitation. And it's like, well, if he can do it, then what's to say that I can't as well? And that's never really been my mantra, like kind of pushing it in people's faces, like, oh, what's your excuse kind of thing. Maybe it was for a little bit, but it didn't really sit right with me. So I kind of stepped away from that and just used my journey as, again, not even for inspiration. I didn't really have any aspirations to be, big influencer and motivate hundreds of thousands of people. Like, that was never the goal. It was just more for me, like, what can I push myself to do? How can I improve? How can I like grow in this situation? And there's been many situations where I've been faced with tough things and I've kind of risen to the occasion and found out a lot about myself in the process.
Because you're not just like, you're not just training in the gym and doing the gym thing. Like, you're doing all these like Iron Man mad thing. You're doing the mad thing. Like, I see you doing stuff where I'm like, bro, like the most amount of ratings.
He's getting tired watching it.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, you're a G. I'm just jealous. But I also saw you posting something. It might have been a year ago, maybe it's this year, where it went viral. There's a video of these 2 guys, right, bodybuilders, on this treadmill, the new treadmill, the curve, and they're sprinting at like a million miles an hour.
Wow.
And someone's throwing the medicine ball. They've got their medicine bands around them. They're doing like 4 things at the same time. And you did a video that was looking at it like what the hell is going on here? Like, what is this about?
What are you training for? Like,
what I wanted to ask you, what do you think of these influencers that are just doing the extreme matting, and how detrimental do you think that is to the public who just want to lose their belly or just kind of maybe, get their waist a little bit in. They don't want to. Is that encouraging to anybody?
Yeah, that kind of the premise of that video was like, essentially what is going on here? There's way too much happening. And like the guy, he's an ex-Marine, and he had, some of the fittest guys around him, and they were just basically just merging 4 or 5 different things into one, which, if you can, then cool, great. But for 99% of the population, people, obviously, again, social media you've got to capture people's attention within like a second.
2 seconds,
yeah. People's attention spans are now like very short. So you've got to literally grasp the attention, keep them watching. And if that means adding more implements and more equipment to the thing, then fine. But what I was saying in the video was like for most of the population, like they don't need to be doing that. That isn't like training. That's not, regular exercise. That's not something that you need to do in order to get fit. Or like you said, if you want to trim a little bit of body fat, feel a little bit healthier, feel a bit more confident, you don't have to run at 100 miles on the curve runner with someone throwing a med ball at you with a resistance band attached around you. Like there's no need to do any of that. So rather than getting discouraged by seeing that and thinking I'm not doing enough, just stick to your basics, your squats, your deadlifts, your overhead presses, your core work, and work on a little bit of cardio. But it doesn't have to be that doing backflips off the treadmill. Like there's no need for all of that stuff.
On that, do you think that gymfluencers are a good thing? Do you think that social media has been a force for good for people that want to get fit?
It's a good question. Yes and no. Yes, because like I'm showing my journey, and there's going to be someone out there like me in my situation or similar to me, or maybe not even like me at all, but in the adaptive community, let's say, and they're seeing things that I'm kind of pushing myself to do, things I'm achieving, things I'm accomplishing, things I've managed to do within my own body and mind, and they can resonate with that and think, amazing, like he's doing it, I can do it too. And I get like tons of messages like that, which make me feel like I'm actually doing something right. So yes, you can look online and see somebody that you resonate with and who could hopefully give you some motivation or inspiration to make a start or continue on your fitness journey. But then there's the other side where some people are just putting out absolute shit, like just not factual, just made up. Some of it's there's all this like editing now, and like it's just fabricating the truth, really and truly. And a lot of people, because the person's got a big following and, they look good in all of their photos, it's automatic that, this person must know what they're talking about. And there's so many people out there who are just doing stuff for likes and clicks and traction and the algorithm, but they don't have, like, let's just say their basic personal trainer qualification or a nutritional qualification, but they're putting out stuff that they've probably done and also worked for them, or they've got good genetics. Like that's the be all and end all of a lot of it, is they've got good genetics. They're, between 19 and 24, they don't have kids, don't work full time. They can train pretty much all day, every day. And it's like, here's what I did to get a 6-pack, or here's what I did to, grow my glutes. Like, I don't think that's what you did. That's just what's happened by you doing a little bit of training and eating a few things. Like, here's what I eat in a day. Like, no one cares. Like, it's not going to be applicable to the person watching the video. So there is a lot of misinformation. There's not any like regulation. Suddenly everyone's got a voice. Like it is a bit of a minefield, but it depends on what you kind of set out for. If you want inspiration, guidance, then there are people out there who are credible, who've got the knowledge, got the certifications to back it up. And then there are other people who just, look good and have all of the credentials in terms of like followings, all of that thing. Like it's yes and no, depends on the person and what they actually want to get out of it.
Sure. And your journey now has taken you, Tyler, to the point now where you are, as I mentioned at the top, an ambassador for some of the biggest fitness brands and events in the world. What's that like? How did that come about? And how do you use that influence for good?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Like I said, I've worked with a few brands over time. And I'm someone who, I guess, I've never set out on social media to, work with brands and have a big following and have all of this kind of this big profile. Like, it wasn't really my intention. It's kind of just happened. Like, I've almost like stumbled across it along the way, which, like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had and the platforms I've managed to establish and the brands I've worked with too. But now it's just become a thing where, like, I'm an ambassador for High Rocks, which is like the biggest fitness event in the world right now. Like, the position I'm in where I can actually encourage other people in the adaptive space, other people with disabilities, like, they see me do it, they're seeing others doing it. And now it's like, oh, actually, like, as hard as it is, as hard as it looks, we can actually do it. We can actually take part. And I'm grateful that I've been put in this position, that I've got, the profile, the following, that I can help, like, influence somebody's decision in taking part in something like that. Because then they'll go on their own journey, and they'll then maybe inspire people in their circle to then try it out. So there's lots of things that have happened over the years. Lots of brands I've worked with. Again, some have been more fruitful than others, but again, like, it's a journey that I'm on.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for, and I'm sure there'll be more coming up. But I'm very selective with who I work with. It's not a case of someone shows some money and says, "Hey, would you promote this product?" I'm like, nah, like, I can't really, chasing the bag all the time. People knowing that you're just going after brands, you're trying to secure the bag, and you end up diluting your own brand or your values or your audience in doing that. So I've been a bit selective, but the ones that I have worked with, I'm grateful for and appreciate them.
So let me ask you, so I'm very open about the fact that when Channel 4 won the rights for the Paralympics in 2009 for 2012, they were very open about the fact that they wanted to have at least half of their on-screen talent to have disabilities, right? But they were very open about, we want to have, half of our talent, disabled talent, right? And that's how I got in. And I don't shy away from the fact that had I not been disabled, there's a very, 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 very small chance I would have got my into TV. Cool. I'm good at what I do. I was good back then. An opportunity came. Boom. I got in.
Rest is history.
Yeah, man. And if you're not good, you soon get found out and you get kicked out. Do you think the brands that have taken you on, the brand you just named in particular, do you think you being disabled was a key driving factor as to why they saw value in bringing you in, or do you think that they thought that this is a guy that's done the work, he's doing the work, he just happens to have one leg, and that's by the by?
I would say it's probably maybe a bit of both, but I'd like to think more the latter, where like you said, I've been seen doing the work. I'm not shying away, not cutting corners, training regularly, again, looking after my diet, all these things, all the staples that you would need to improve your health and well-being in whatever way or form. But just so happens, to have one leg. Like, I would think it was the latter. But there have been, I guess, some situations and instances in the past where, you've got a disability that almost ticks a box, or it might push you to the forefront a little bit. But for me, I'm like, you know what, if that's what's got me.
How do you feel about that, Tyler? How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that?
Do you care if someone says to you, we want you to front this thing or be involved in this event, and you kind of knew it's just because I'm disabled?
Yeah.
Would that be a no-no for you, or would you take it and be like, cool, whatever?
I'll probably just take it and be cool, whatever, and let's make the best of the situation. Let's impact as many people as possible with this campaign. Again, whether it's I've got it or I'm part of it because I'm missing a leg, I'm like, cool. If it's not me, it's going to be someone else. And if I didn't have this disability, I wouldn't be involved. So let's just see it as a blessing. Let's just run with it, and let's see how much positivity we can drive with my involvement in the campaign. And you might ask someone else, and they'll have a different perspective on it all. But I think from growing up, like, I never rated myself. I never was brought into things because of my disability. Now in this space where disability,
you're running with it. Run the check.
Oh, I'm running with it.
It's in the car. I'm in. I'm all in now. It's my time. Yeah.
It's in the car.
I said it's my time now. Yeah.
Bro, all of that, literally all of that. Like whatever it is that's got me into this position, and if the leg is a major driver, cool. I'm cool with it. Let's go. And some people might hear this and think, oh, it's a money thing. I've done so many things like for free.
Yeah.
So many things where there's been no monetary gain. And even a lot of the things, like, again, people see big followings and think like everything is monetary driven and you're getting paid posts left, right, and center, and brands are chucking money at you. Like, I'm not at that level yet. Let's say, I'm not at that level yet. But even the things I've done for free, and there's been like a time of disability and accessibility, inclusivity, I'm still like, yeah, it's for the greater good. It's for the bigger picture. Like, yeah, I'd love to be involved.
All right. So away from the weight, the training and the fitness, the first time I saw you go viral before your journey, bruv, was the tube, right? Them videos on the tube, Tyler. You were doing the mad thing, right? You were doing
the ninja.
I loved it. I loved it. For those who don't know, Tyler would go onto London Underground on the tube, and this guy in peak rush hour would just be on the bars doing some crazy flips, backwards and forwards.
Front levers, skin the cat.
You were doing the mad thing. What was all that about? For someone that you said wasn't particularly overly confident when you were younger, why were you doing it, and what was it like being on a tube doing the mad thing with one leg?
Oh, doing all of that before it was actually viral, famous like now. That was at that time. I'd met someone at my gym who he owned a video production company. He, saw my profile on the wall of the gym. He's like, mate, you got like a super inspiring story. Would love to create some content for you, like in exchange for training. And we did that for a little while. Then we ended up becoming like good mates. And then he had a bit more know-how of socials and how it all worked and the ins and outs of algorithms and virality and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, mate, you could do some cool stuff that no one else can. Let's just go down to London and just cause mayhem. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, again, still not the most confident in that kind of space. But I'm like, you know what? Let's just step out of comfort zone. I'm not injuring anyone. I'm not like inconveniencing anyone. I'm just like trying to turn a few heads and, get some reactions here and there. And yeah, some of the videos popped off, some of them didn't. But it was almost like, it's like performers. You got to get used to being in front of eyes and, not worrying about what people think and getting hung up on public opinions. It was kind of like a practice in that as well.
Sure.
And just, went out there and just, hanging off of traffic lights, doing levers and spinning. It was. I look back at some of them. I'm like, yeah, that was crazy. Like, I probably wouldn't do it now, but you go through periods of trying different things, and
I loved it.
The internet was different then. Like, social media was different then. The algorithm was different then. But it was all just an exercise in one, just kind of being uncomfortable, but also seeing how this whole viral thing worked. And like I said, some of them went crazy, other ones didn't. But yeah, at that time, I was called the one-legged ninja on social media. That was my handle.
Yeah.
That was the basis of the content, was all like, this one-legged guy. There's one video of me doing a handstand on a phone box in Covent Garden, on like an iconic British red phone box. I've climbed up and I've done a handstand, and this policeman's coming. He's like, mate, you can't be doing that. He's like, I'm going to get a call saying there's a one-legged black guy doing handstands on this total. For what do you expect me to do? And he was safe about it. Like, he was so cool. Like, I'm going to probably dig that video up and do a Throwback Thursday one day. But, just kind of stuff like that, which was just fun. And we were just having fun with it.
I loved it.
But soon after that, I kind of realized, right, I don't want to be known as, the one-legged ninja. I was kind of going for a transition in my kind of business as well. I was like, I don't want to be known for that. I want to be known for like helping people, leaving a longer lasting impact, a legacy. So I changed it to then I am Tyler Saunders, and it's been that ever since.
Sure.
But people still remember the crazy stuff.
I do, man. I love those videos, man. I was like, what? This brother's on some different thing. We're both amputees. You don't wear a leg. You are on crutches. I had an issue with my leg about a year ago, and I couldn't. I was on crutches for about a month or two. I hated it. getting around on crutches, it seems fun at first, but after a while, especially when you're carrying the kind of weight I'm carrying, it's just like, this is long. This is not good at all. Is it just purely comfort as to why you don't use a prosthetic? Is that the only reason you don't use a leg?
Pretty much, yeah. So you're above knee or below knee?
I'm below the knee, amputee.
Below knee. See, I'm through hip, congenital from birth. So my attachment just never used to. I mean, it's never comfortable for any of us, regardless of where your site is. But with mine being through the hip, like I'm sitting in a little bucket seat, and a Velcro strap goes around my waist. I used to have a shoulder strap to attach the leg onto me. So all in all, it was just very cumbersome, very heavy. Used to get hot really quickly as well.
Sure,
as a child, again, just not knowing any different, wanting to fit in and be normal, as it were. I just wear it all the time, at school. And as soon as I get home, I would just literally just whip it off and throw it in the corner and then just hop around, because that was my natural state.
Okay.
And then it got a little bit older, a bit more kind of self-aware, a bit more self-confidence. Like, I don't need it. And that transition was quite challenging, going from being just like a normal black boy with one leg, slight limp. Now I've actually got the missing leg visibly, and like everyone can see it. There's nowhere to hide it. But just the not having the discomfort of wearing it versus the public perception, I was like, I actually feel better without it on. And people almost started to treat me a little bit different, where someone might suddenly open the door for me. I'm like, okay, I'll take that.
Just this upside space.
Yeah, like no one opening doors prior, and now like people are like, "Oh, do you want to sit down?" And I was like, you know what, I'll take the little wins where I can.
Small wins, I hear.
But I always try to make the leg as comfortable as possible. So you go to the limb fitting center, you try and get everything measured up. You're like, okay, this doesn't feel too good. Can we do? I would literally spend like hours there trying to get this perfect, comfortable leg. The leg goes back into the workshop. It comes back. It's nowhere how I asked for it to be done. And I was like, after a while, I think the last appointment I had was 2013. Just tried the leg and it just wasn't working. I was like, you know what? I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done with it, yeah. And there's probably been situations where the leg might have helped. I went to Chesterton with the family a couple of years ago and got turned away from every ride because I had the one leg. That was an eye-opener. That was quite upsetting that day. Didn't expect it at all. So the leg would have helped me in that scenario. But apart from that, I don't think it would have helped. It's not helped me in fitness. It's not helped me in my personal training business when I was. It's not helped me improve my performance at fitness events or with my training. So it hasn't actually hindered me not having it.
Sure, yeah.
But I am actually going to the limb fitting center next week to get fitted for a new one, just to have one around, because my shoulders are now a little bit, they take the wear and tear. Whereas, when we're walking, it's our knees, our hips, ankles. Like for myself, being a crutch user every day, yes, it's all shoulders now. So if I do need to have a bit of time off the shoulders, the leg will be there in case I need it. But yeah, I'm interested to see what technology they've got now as well. If things have progressed, they definitely have. But just to see if things could be a little bit more suited to my needs. But the leg hasn't been part of my identity the last like 15 years, and especially in my fitness journey, it's if anything, I've been the guy with one leg. That's what's almost propelled me a little bit more than
I hear it.
Not so.
I hear that,
man. I don't wear the leg.
So let's talk basketball now, Tyler. As I mentioned, we've never actually had the pleasure of playing with or against each other. You play for the Titans. I know a lot of those guys very well. London and surrounding counties, people them. What was your journey into wheelchair basketball? And you seem to be really happy. You've been at Titans for a long time. Your whole
pretty much whole career.
Yeah. You seem to love it playing with those guys. Just tell us first of all how you got into wheelchair basketball, and also what's happening with the Titans at the moment.
From the first session I went to, I was like, yes, like this is me. Met a great group of guys there, like met Addy there as well. From there, started going to Stanmore. That's where we met.
Yes.
And yeah, it was just being in, like, I'd never really known any disabled people growing up. I was the only disabled person I knew pretty much. so joining the wheelchair basketball community was amazing for me, because now I'm around people like me, people with other impairments, other disabilities, but like crushing it in their respective fields, whether it's in the sport or in their industry. And I was like, wow, okay, like now I'm actually part of a team, part of a family. So that's always been why I put wheelchair basketball in such a high position, like in such a high regard, because it literally came into my life at a time where there was nothing going on. Like I didn't really have any direction, you know, making some questionable choices in life, and basketball literally came at a point where I needed it. And like Raiders took me in. Raiders and Force were always quite close anyway. So, you know, went up to Aspire, met like yourself, met Gaz, met Addy, like Ian, like all these names that we both know. And then, Raiders and Force then merged to make Titans. And I've been with them ever since. I went to Germany 3 years, like I said, to play semi-professionally. And that was in my kind of GB program days. I wanted to improve and play at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I've not played anywhere else. Been a Titan through and through. And we're all, you know, a very tight-knit group.
Yes.
We're always getting new players in, which is awesome. But the team's growing. But we've always, you know, had a core group. You know, friends on and off the court. We've now got like, you know, myself, Matt, Addy, Christy. We've got a little WhatsApp group called Dad Lads, because we're all dads now.
You're all old bastards now. You're all old bastards.
Old, literally old crows now. So yeah, like we've been through a lot together, like on and off the court. But you know, basketball makes lifelong friends, and
it does.
Sport and fitness in general. Like you make connections that you probably didn't ever think you'd make, and your old circles, your previous friendship circles might not understand, but it's just that kind of love of a sport, or a love of fitness, or a love of just being active. It brings people together. So
no, totally.
Yeah, I call them not my family; they're my boys.
I totally agree.
I'm gonna play as long as I can. Like it's you know, you kind of get past. You creep into your 30s, 40s. As an athlete, you know, when you get to 30, that's kind of when you start thinking about hanging up the boots or calling it a day. No, I want to play for as long as possible, man.
Yeah. No, I rate it, man. One more thing I wanted to talk to you about, Tyler, and a lot of my friends think I've got this obsession with it, right? But I think it's something that's not discussed a lot within the disabled, inverted commas, community, and that's dating, relationships, and sex, right? And you're a family man. You've got 2 beautiful daughters and a beautiful wife, right? But I'm always fascinated, and it's interesting because it's obviously different for different people. I'm always fascinated by when people with disabilities, you know, are on the dating process, right? And looking for dates, and whether they do it the online app thing, or if they're in a wheelchair, and how that differs to someone that's maybe got one leg, and how that differs to someone that's maybe got, you know, is neurodivergent, different disabilities. I'm just fascinated by all of it, right? Before you became an honest man and have the beautiful family that you've got, what was it like for you on crutches, one leg, and dating? Was it difficult for you? I mean, you're a charismatic, intelligent, good-looking guy with bags of personality, so I'm sure that supersedes everything else. But we can't escape the fact that people, you know, it's optics, right? Did you ever have an issue, with how people perceived you because you had one leg?
100%. Again, like, wasn't the most confident kid, and that might have been due to the disability, especially like with the opposite sex. I wouldn't go and like chat to a girl.
He wasn't a gallus.
No, I wasn't at all. And you might be surprised, but no, I wasn't. Like, it's just that awareness of I'm different. Wearing the prosthetic again. You know, go to bars, go to clubs. You know, you're dancing. I might want to go and talk to a guy. I might see like an absolute worldie in the corner. I haven't got the confidence to go and chat to the person, because I'm like, you know, I then have to bring up the fact that I've got this disability and I've got one leg. How are they going to react? And like people's perceptions, how people viewed me was like quite a big thing. Like, it kind of anchored me to sometimes not take action. So I think in situations where I did, you know, meet a girl or, you know, go out on dates. A lot of it was online. Like this was like the early days of like kind of profiles and like before Facebook, but you had those kind of profile sites back in the day. MSN, like for example, MSN Messenger was, you know, up, you know, at uni at night, like trying to chirp girls virtually. And that's you can kind of get to know the person and the personality that way. But when it's like in person, I was not that guy. I was not like a closer. I could do well with like general conversation and like breaking the ice and meeting people. That wasn't really a problem, but just, yeah, my confidence in the opposite sex was not that high. And then as I've got older, started to become more aware of myself. Even before I was an honest man, when I was going out on crutches, then, you know, it's nothing to hide. Like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And that actually drew more girls to me. Like I'd have more conversation. I'd meet people a lot easier because it's a great icebreaker. Oh, what happened to you? Like, you know, might run a little joke. I got bitten off by a shark when I was swimming in Australia. Or...
I was going to ask you if you have a story. Every amputee's got
Everyone
a story.
Has a story. Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
No, this was actually in Germany where some girls approached me at the bar. She's like, "Oh, what happened to your leg?" And I was deep sea diving in corals in Australia. She's like, "That's a lie." I was like, "What? Why?" And she's like, "Black people don't deep sea dive." I was like, "Yep.
She's got you.
She literally is like, "Black people don't do those things." I was like, "Yeah, all right." Couldn't even argue with it. So that was probably the funniest one. A lot of people assume military, you know, been in war, soldier, that kind of thing. I'm like, no, I won't ever like mess with that because that's actual real stuff. People are actually, you know, it's happened to people. A lot of people don't know. So that's nothing funny. But yeah, the whole the shark bite thing, I did try that and literally got shut down. I was like, this is true. You don't see us deep sea diving and putting ourselves in risky situations for the fun of it. So, but yeah, like in time, you know, kind of things improved. Again, I still wouldn't say even like before meeting Rosie and, you know, settling down and stuff. I wasn't very good at closing deals. And it might even be a thing where, you know, someone might have been interested, but just my own like hang-ups inside, I didn't ever like move or progress on with it. So yeah, it was an interesting thing. And like even like the thing of sex, sometimes that you'd think, oh, like if we got to get to the next stage, you know, when I had my leg at the time, it's like, right, I've got to unveil this big secret. Whereas when, you know, I was just on the crutches, again, I'm like, this is what it is. Like I'm not hiding anything. So, and it's never really been a problem. I remember one instance, I met somebody in Thailand years ago. You know, nothing happened on the holiday. I mean, kept talking, came back, and then got to like the final stage. She'd come to see me, and then she's like, "No, I'm not confident with this." I'm like, "Hold on a second." I was like, "We've literally been talking for all this time. I've not hidden this from you, but literally when it's got down to it, she's like, oh, I'm not comfortable." I'm like, all right, fine. And that was that.
Have you ever had any hang-ups, Tyler, into yourself when it comes to, you know, the act of sex and issues around your body, having one leg? I don't know if when you were wearing a leg, do you take off the leg when you have sex? Is it staying on? Has any of that ever been like a psychological thing for you whereby it's put you off wanting to be intimate, or others have been put off by it? Has that process ever been an issue because of your disability?
No, I think probably towards the latter end of me wearing the leg. So this was more like uni days. And there's, you know, been the odd occasion where, you know, it's come down to it and I've got to like then go in the corner, pull my pads down, take this leg off, unattach all these different, there's Velcro straps going. I'm like, is she gonna get freaked out and be like, nah, forget this, I'm out of here? And like it didn't really happen. Like a lot of the things I guess were in my head.
Sure.
And yes, you know, a lot of it is like vanity driven and
yeah,
how you look and all of this kind of stuff. But you know, girls will always say like they like you for you, and the same goes for us too. But
yeah,
you know, going through the stages of like undressed and stuff, yeah, I had my hang-ups for sure. I'm like, how's this gonna look? How's this gonna be perceived? Is she still gonna kind of feel me for me? And like I said, like in 99% of the circumstances, everything was cool, just bar that one. But a lot of it is, again, just like in the thoughts are running around in my head. I don't know what she's thinking. And it's not really my right to know. Like I'm too busy with my own hang-ups. I think that happens to a lot of people where they get hung up on their own thoughts. Like, you don't know what the other person's thinking. Like, if you start thinking about what they're thinking, you end up just more stressed out, more anxious. So it did act as a hindrance at times, but that was probably more in real life, like in public spaces, in bars and clubs. Just, I didn't have the chat, I didn't have the banter really. I didn't have any pickup lines.
Sure.
I was more like build a genuine kind of conversation with people, but just sometimes bars and clubs weren't the place for that. Music's loud. Like, what's your name? Then they're like, what? Like, he's saying what, like 4 or 5 times. I was like, this isn't the place for me. So a lot of times it was just online, and had some relationships in the past. Some were shorter than others, some were longer than others, but the disability thing became less of a factor the more I got into it.
Last question, Tyler. You've got 2 daughters, as I mentioned. Have you noticed amongst your daughters having a dad visibly with one leg, not like me wearing a prosthetic, like you're with one leg all the time? Have you noticed any difference in how they see disability, or how they treat people, or how they see disability, I guess what I'm asking, because of you?
I would like to think they see disability as very normal. I used to kind of worry at times, like, them going to school, I go to pick them up. Again, kids are just kids. Like, I always say this too, like, kids are just innocent. They just see what they see. They say what they see. And, I walk down the street and the kids like literally like twisting their neck, like, "Mommy, he's got one leg," or "Where's his leg?" And that's a conversation I'm happy to have. It just depends on how the parent responds in that scenario. Again, you probably had this discussion with like other people in the adaptive space as well, in our community, where, you're happy to talk about it, but if that individual then just like tells the kid, be quiet, and like drags them away, that then almost like compounds the issue of, oh, don't talk to that disabled person. So I'm going to school, picking up the girls, and kids literally left, right, and center, like twisting their head, like, oh, this guy's got one leg. And what I now know is that, like, the kids at the school say to Jasmine or Aria that, oh, your daddy's got one leg, but they'll say back, oh, but he's super strong, or he can do this, or he's been on TV and on Ninja Warrior and things like this. So they don't have to. I don't have to fight battles for them. They aren't ashamed of me, which is like probably the proudest thing for me. Like, being a child who wasn't very confident to now having like 2 girls who are like fully confident in me, and the fact that I'm doing, sports, I'm doing activity, I'm helping other people improve their quality of life. I've done like talks in the school, at their school as well, talking about my journey and what I've done, and like showed them a clip of like the Ninja Warrior clip on TV, and suddenly earned cool points across the board. Like the whole school now knows Jasmine and Aria's daddy. Like, even when I go to pick them up, they're like, "Hi, Aria's daddy. Hi, Jasmine's daddy." Like, I can't remember the kid from Adam, but they still remember me. So that's really cool. And the fact as well that they come with me to Titans home games and they get to see all the other players, whether they're on our team or the opposite team. Oh, like, daddy, he's got one arm, he's got one leg like you. He uses a wheelchair. He's, he, she, they, like, everyone is just normal to them, which is pretty cool for me. So yeah, they've been around it from day one. It is very normal to them, and like, I hope it would make them then treat others, despite where they're from, race, religion, background, orientation, like whatever. They're just a person, and everyone's just seen as an equal. Like, I'd like to think I've instilled that in them, or we have instilled that in them from young, and just hopefully just makes them good people as they get older.
Humans, no, for sure.
Yeah, just good humans, man. Yeah.
I'm going to be asking every guest that comes on this podcast, Tyler, this closing question. What is the stupidest, what is the dumbest, what is the most ridiculous question you've ever been asked in relation to your disability?
It's not even a question, and
it could be a comment, it could be an observation.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like I grew up in the church. I grew up as a Christian. My parents are still Christian. I've still got Christian values to some extent. I remember walking through King's Cross, just across King's Cross station, was going to a photo shoot, and someone out there was like, ministering and preaching and stuff. And he's walked past, he's like, brother, I feel obliged to pray with you. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I wasn't in a rush. I was like, okay, fine. But essentially the prayer was like to make me whole again. And I was like, the power of prayer, cool. Like I grew up with, praying all the rest of it. But no amount of prayer or medicine or whatever is gonna make my leg grow back. And I just found it hilarious at the time.
This leg's gone, bro. This leg's gone. It's gone.
Leg's gone. Nothing's coming.
And I'm okay with it.
I'm all right. Life is good. But it's that almost that like that
sure
pity to some extent, like, poor you, God bless you, let's pray for you. I'm like, I'm good. Like I work. I'm healthy. I've got a family.
Yeah.
I'm traveling around the world. I'm getting all these opportunities. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm good, bro. Like, thank you for your time and your prayers. But
yes,
like, no amount of prayer is going to make.
I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. But no, questions I can't think. Like, whenever someone asks something about that, like, that's what comes to my mind. So I'm like, there's no amount of, anything that's going to make it grow back. And even like when you fill out a form for something and they're like, has your condition changed in the last year or the last couple of months? I'm like, no,
it's gone. It's gone.
No, I don't think AI or medicine at this stage can regrow limbs. So until then, I am who I am. It is what it is. Life is good,
Listen, Tyler, one of the proudest moments in regards to yourself was when I was going up and down Regent Street about 2-3 years ago, and I saw your beautiful face times 10 on the side of the Gymshark store. It was Gymshark store. As an ambassador, and I just thought, that's my guy. That is my guy. He's bigger than the bus that I'm on. Your big face was just like, honestly.
But the face was big, innit?
Your face was a bit too big. I'm not gonna lie. It was a little bit too big. I'm not gonna lie. But still,
face was like,
it was a little. It could have been a bit smaller. It could have been a bit smaller, but that's fine. But I've just the point I'm making is that the journey that you've gone on, not only with your fitness, but just as a man with 2 beautiful kids, married man, beautiful wife, lovely wife, and just someone that's always trying to help others. I get the impression from you that you're living to just, and I don't want to get all Jerry Springer about this at the end of the show here, but you're living to try and help others. What can I do to help other people? But also live it myself. And you've chosen fitness as the kind of the thing to show.
The vehicle.
Yeah, I want you guys to be fit and healthy and live long. So you know what? I'm gonna do it myself. And I rate you. I rate you so highly, Tyler. I watch what you do. We're gonna put your details of your socials in the description so people can follow you and find you and see what you're doing. I rate you the highest. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast. You've been a great guest. I mean, you did say you were an 8. Was it an 8? You said 8, didn't you?
It was an 8, yeah.
It was an 8. I'm gonna bump it to an 8.9. Yeah,
8.
Which is high. An 8.9.
Let's make it a whole 9. Like round it up to a 9, bro.
I'm petty, Tyler. I'm petty.
No whole numbers. 8.9. Are we going in decimal fractions as well? No, okay.
It's all right. 9. All right. It's a clean 9. It's a round 9, right? It's a round 9.
You're not one of the ones at the petrol station where you want it bang on like £30. You're happy with.
You know what? I don't drive.
30.1. You're like, that's fine. That's
I don't drive, Tyler, so that's not really a problem that I can't regular. I'm not OCD like that, but I hear you. We'll go to 9. Yeah, we'll go to a 9. Yeah, Tyler, you're a G. You've been one of the best first guests I could have got on the pod. So thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it. It's a big honor being the first one, mate.
Nah, man, you're a G. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being cool. Keep being dope. For you guys out there, if you haven't already, please slap the subscribe button. Give us a follow. There's plenty more episodes. We've got so many more lined up. Great people, different disabilities, different journeys, different achievements. Lots of laughs, lots of tears coming up. Follow us, subscribe, all that jazz. Share it, WhatsApp group it. You know what to do. Until next week. Peace.